Picture this. It's the 18th hole. You need a par to win. Your playing partner, who you've been competing against all day, who has been one shot behind you since the 12th, is already in the hole. Clean bogey. He's done. The pressure is off him completely and entirely on you. There is no coach you can look to, no teammate to cover for you if this goes wrong, no substitution possible, no tactical switch, no formation change, no play call from the bench. There is you, a golf club, a ball sitting in the fairway, and 180 meters of air between you and the flag. Whatever happens next, whatever shape that ball takes, wherever it lands, how the next two shots go, that is yours. All of it. Every atom of the result belongs to you and nobody else. That is golf. That is the thing that makes it different from almost every other sport played at a serious level. And I want to make the case today, a case that I find completely convincing and that I don't think gets made loudly enough, that this total, unshared, inescapable personal responsibility is not a flaw in golf's design. It is the most important feature the game has. Let me tell you about what happens in team sports when something goes wrong. In football, and I mean the kind played with a round ball and feet, though what I'm about to say applies to both, when a team loses, the post-match analysis is a negotiation. Who made the error that led to the goal? Was it the goalkeeper who came off his line too early, or the defender who should have tracked the run? Was it the midfielder who lost possession, or the manager whose tactical setup left space in behind? The press conference is a careful distribution of responsibility across a group. Sometimes a player accepts blame generously. Sometimes blame is allocated by journalists, by pundits, by data analysts with spreadsheets. The point is, it spreads. Loss in team sports is a shared object that can be examined from multiple angles and attributed to multiple causes. In tennis, which is closer to golf in this sense, when you lose a match, the loss is yours. But even there, something softens it. Your opponent beat you. Someone was on the other side of the net, playing actively against you, making decisions that affected your outcomes. When Novak Djokovic wins a point, part of what happened is Novak Djokovic. You can study him. You can adjust to him. You can point at the quality of his return and say, "That shot was extraordinary. There was nothing I could do." In golf, there is no opponent making shots at you. There is a course, which does not care about you, has no interest in your psychology, applies its slopes and its wind and its rough with complete indifference, and there is you. And when the ball goes in the wrong direction, the only question that matters is, what did you do? Not what did the course do to you? Not what did the weather do? Those factors exist, of course. Wind affects golf shots in ways that are genuinely outside a player's control. Bad lies happen. The bounce can go wrong. But the serious golfer, even the amateur serious golfer, the 15 handicapper who plays twice a week and cares, knows the difference between a bad break and a bad decision. And they do not confuse them. They cannot confuse them because the game will not let them. Here's what I mean by that. In golf, you sign your own scorecard. This is not a metaphor. This is a literal rule of the game. At the end of a round, in serious competition, you take the scorecard that records every shot you played on every hole, you check it for accuracy, and you sign it. You attest that the numbers on that card are true. If you sign a card with a score lower than you actually made, even accidentally, even by one stroke, you are disqualified. Not penalized, disqualified. The game requires that you be the accurate witness to your own performance. Tommy Armour, one of the great golfers of the early 20th century, a Scottish American who won 3 major championships, said something about golf that I think about constantly. He said that the secret of golf is to turn 3 shots into 2. Not to hit the perfect shot, not to eliminate mistakes, to manage what happens after the mistake. Because the mistake in golf is not the question. The question is always, and then what did you do? Let me tell you about Roberto De Vicenzo, because this story is one of the most extraordinary things that has ever happened in professional golf, and it illustrates everything I'm talking about with a precision that nothing else quite matches. It was the 1968 Masters, Augusta National. De Vicenzo was an Argentine golfer, one of the finest of his era, a man who had won over 200 tournaments worldwide, including the Open Championship. He was 45 years old at the 1968 Masters, old for a serious contender, but playing brilliantly. On the 17th hole of the final round, he made a birdie, 4 under par for that hole. His playing partner, Tommy Aaron, who was keeping De Vicenzo's scorecard as per the rules of the game, accidentally wrote a 4 instead of a 3 next to the 17th hole. 1 digit. 1 number, wrong by 1. De Vicenzo signed the card. He checked it. Or rather, and this is what makes the story what it is, he checked it insufficiently. He signed it without catching the error. And under golf's rules, the score on the signed card stands. Not the score you actually made, the score you attested to. De Vicenzo had signed for a score 1 stroke higher than he actually shot. The rules committee had no choice. The 4 became his official score. He finished 1 stroke behind Bob Golby. He lost the Masters by 1 shot, the shot he had actually made, the birdie he had genuinely holed, the 3 that should have been written on the card. He lost it because the game requires you to be the accurate witness to your own round, and for 45 seconds on the 18th green, he was not. De Vicenzo, in the press conference afterward, said something that became one of the most quoted lines in golf history. He said, "What a stupid I am." 3 words. Complete accountability. No blame distributed to Tommy Aaron, who wrote the wrong number. No appeal to the rules committee, who had no discretion in the matter. What a stupid I am. The man owned the loss entirely, immediately, with a grammatically imperfect sentence that somehow becomes more perfect for its imperfection. That moment, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about why it resonates so strongly, captures something essential about what golf demands of the people who play it. The game creates conditions in which you cannot hide from yourself. Not from your result, not from your decisions, not from the moments where you were insufficiently present or careful or focused. The scorecard doesn't lie. The signed scorecard especially doesn't lie. And what De Vicenzo did in that press conference was demonstrate something that golf, over decades and hundreds of rounds, had built into him: the reflex of ownership, the habit of looking at what went wrong and saying, "That was mine." I want to be careful here because I'm not saying that golf makes people morally better. That would be too much. There are plenty of golfers who cheat, who inflate handicaps, who move balls in the rough when they think no one is looking. The game does not automatically confer virtue on the people who play it. But the game's structure, the rules, the self-reporting, the signed scorecard, the absence of anyone to hide behind, creates a framework that rewards a particular kind of honesty. And the people who play it for years, who take it seriously, who let the game teach them what it wants to teach, those people tend to develop a specific relationship with accountability that is different from what most competitive environments produce. Here's the other side of this, the side that I think is even more interesting than the accountability piece. Because golf is entirely yours when it goes wrong, it is also entirely yours when it goes right. Think about what it feels like to hit a perfect golf shot. And I mean perfect in the golf sense, not technically flawless necessarily, but exactly what you intended. The ball starting on the line you picked, holding that line through the air, landing where you imagined it, finishing close to where you wanted it to finish. That moment of contact where you felt the impact through your hands and knew, before you looked up, exactly how it had gone. Nobody gave you that. No teammate set it up. No coach called the play. You stood over the ball, alone with the decision, and you executed it. The credit is atomic. It cannot be subdivided. It belongs to you and only you in a way that almost nothing in modern life actually does. We live in a world where most achievement is collaborative. Most work happens in teams, in organizations, in networks of people whose individual contributions blur into collective outcomes. The project succeeded because of the team. The company grew because of the culture. Even in individual sports, the coach, the trainer, the physio, the support structure is vast and visible and rightfully credited. Golf has all of that too at the professional level. Tour players have caddies, coaches, psychologists, biomechanics specialists. The support infrastructure of modern professional golf is enormous. But on the course, when the shot has to be hit, all of that infrastructure falls away. The caddy steps back. The coach is not there. The psychologist is somewhere else. And the shot is yours. That shot, if it's good, is yours in a way that nothing else in your week probably is. Completely, uncomplicatedly, undeniably yours. I think this is why golfers talk about their rounds the way they do, why they will describe in detail to anyone who will listen a specific shot they hit 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday morning. Not because they're boasting, though sometimes they are, and that's fine, but because that shot belongs to them in a way that they are still processing. It was theirs. They made it happen. In a world that spends a lot of energy distributing credit and diffusing responsibility, the golf shot stands apart as something clean. There's a concept in sports psychology called locus of control. The idea is that people differ in where they locate the causes of what happens to them. Internally, meaning their own actions and decisions, or externally, meaning circumstances and other people. Athletes with a strong internal locus of control tend to perform better under pressure, recover faster from mistakes, and improve more consistently over time. Because they believe that what they do matters, that their choices have direct consequences. Golf is a locus of control machine. It is specifically structurally designed to make the connection between your actions and your outcomes as clear as possible. Hit a bad shot? Your ball is in the rough. Make a poor decision about risk? Your ball is in the water. Lose your focus for a moment at the top of your backswing? The shot you make reflects that lost focus immediately and directly. The feedback loop in golf is shorter and more honest than in almost any other domain of human activity. And the strange, counterintuitive gift of this is that it makes improvement feel real. When you get better at golf, when your handicap drops, when the ball starts going where you intend more consistently, you know it's because of something you did, something you changed, something you understood that you didn't understand before. There is no algorithm deciding your results, no colleague whose performance affected your review, no external variable that can dilute the meaning of your progress. You got better. You. That's yours too. Some people hear all of this and think, that sounds exhausting. That sounds like a lot of pressure. That sounds like the last thing I want from something I'm supposed to do for fun. And I understand that. There's a real thing being described there. Golf can be a brutal mirror. If you are someone who struggles with mistakes, who finds it difficult to move on from errors, who tends to catastrophize, golf will find all of that and put it directly in front of you, hole after hole, for 4 hours. But here's the thing. That version of golf, the golf that is relentlessly self-critical, that turns every bad shot into evidence of inadequacy, that's not the game the best golfers play. That's a misunderstanding of what the game is asking for. The game is not asking you to be perfect. The game is specifically and deliberately designed around the fact that you will not be perfect. Nobody has ever been perfect. The structure of the game, the handicap system, the way scoring works, the culture of the 19th hole where everyone compares disasters with the warmth of people who have all been through the same thing, all of that exists because the designers of golf understood that imperfection is the point. What golf asks of you is not perfection. It asks you to be honest, to own your shots, your decisions, your score, to not hide, to sign the card. And then, and this is the part that takes time to learn, to let it go. The shot is gone. The hole is finished. The round is done. What remains is the next shot, and the next shot only. The loneliness of golf, when you understand it properly, is not isolation. It's clarity. It's the specific quality of being completely responsible for what you're doing, in real time, with no one to diffuse the experience. That's not a burden. That's a gift. Especially if the rest of your life looks anything like most people's lives. Complicated, collaborative, full of variables outside your control. 4 hours on a golf course where the only question that matters is what you decide to do next. That's not loneliness. That's freedom. Golf is the only sport where nobody can save you. And the people who play it, who really play it, who have let it in, will tell you that this is exactly why they can't stop. Because there are very few places in adult life where you get to be completely, uncomplicatedly responsible for what happens. Where the result is yours in both directions, the disaster and the triumph, the double bogey and the perfect iron shot that you will think about on Thursday morning in a meeting that has nothing to do with golf. Roberto De Vincenzo lost the Masters with a signed scorecard and said, "What a stupid I am." 3 words: complete ownership. And somehow that moment made him more loved, not less. Because everyone watching understood what the game had built in him. The reflex of honesty. The habit of looking at what happened and saying, that was mine. Golf is the only game you never master. And part of what makes it unmastered, permanently, beautifully unmastered, is that it keeps asking you to show up alone, with your full self, and be honest about what happens when you do. That's the loneliest sport in the world. And that's exactly the point. This is Kora's Golf Vibes. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're building a case, episode by episode for why golf is the most interesting sport that most people have never seriously considered. And we're doing it for the person who is still standing outside the fence, wondering what everyone inside is so obsessed about. Follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. I'm Kora. See you next week.